Hey everyone, how you doing today? Hope you're doing great. Won't be long and the Colorado big game deadline, at least for deer and elk and pronghorn, is coming up. And it's at 8 p.m. Mountain Time on April 1st. I know, you're probably saying, wait, that's the same day as Montana. This year, it is. Colorado slides there, Montana is just static, April 1st. So you got two states that are a big deal that day. Earlier we released the Montana video. This one is going to be Colorado. Now, again, as we always say, this is giving you the highlights. If you want the full-on detail, the gory stuff, the nuts and bolts of everything, go to Go Hunt and sign up and use promo code Randy. In addition to the $50 of credit they'll give you in the gear shop, we're going to give you an annual subscription to Fresh Tracks Plus, and we're going to give you the elk hunting e-guide, which we just redid. It's 100 pages. It's really cool. So I always like to think about what are the changes for that year. And Colorado does a really good job of putting what those changes are. There's a small increase in Colorado every year because they're one of the few states who have put a CPI, Consumer Price Index escalator, in their fee structure. So every year it goes up a little bit according to what supposed inflation is. Now, the big change you're going to see this year is that for 2025, there is no longer these 90 units over in the west part of the state. There's no longer an archery opportunity over the counter. There's still the second and third rifle opportunity in those units, but not for archery. And given the changes that residents are pressing for, well, that second and third rifle could go away. The big change that's coming, they have a working group that put together a bunch of suggestions for, I can't remember what they call it, but it was about the draw system and how non-residents and how the allocation should work and how the allocation between preference points and other stuff should work. Well, in 2028, there is a huge change coming where half of the tags, right now Colorado does everything on a preference point system, right? Well, in 2028, they're going to take half of those tags and they're no longer going to be on a preference point system. They're going to be in a bonus point system. So half of them are going to go to whoever has the most points. The other ones are going to be kind of like a raffle where the number of raffle tickets you have, well, based on how many points you have. So expect people with mid to high points to start burning those points in 25, 26, and 27. Because if they wait until 2028, unless they're at the very, very top of the point pool, their points are devalued. So these folks say that have 8 to 25 points, because Colorado is the oldest system out here. I think right now you could have 37 or 38 points in Colorado. So those folks from, say, 8 to 24, 25, those are the people who are really going to lose out with this change in 2028. And I expect a lot of them to jump in 25, 26, and 27 so they can get the best value out of the points that they've been purchasing for years. Now, I'm not going to cover moose, goat, and sheep. That's a whole different thing. It's super complicated how they have this weighted point draw and everything. Go out to Go Hunt and just read that. That's the best place to find out about it. When you apply in Colorado, you're going to have to buy the annual small game license, a little over $100. You got to buy a habitat stamp, which is over $12. You got an $11 application fee per species. So you add all that up, and you're going to be into it about close to $125 for even one species. And if you do 2 species, it's another $11. If you do 3 species, it's another $11. Now, the limited entry tags, for the most part, are split 75-25 between residents and non-residents. And there's a few exceptions, and some people say, that's not always the case. No, I get that. It's not always the case, but it's pretty general. Non-residents get 25, residents get 70, residents get 75%. The price is pretty reasonable. A deer tag in Colorado, a little over $480, an elk tag, $825. A pronghorn tag, and I've always wondered about this, why pronghorn is more expensive than deer in Colorado. It's a little under $500. Now, again, didn't cover moose, goat, sheep, other stuff. That's, you're going to write a big check on that one. $2,700 and a little over $2,750. But that's, go to Go Hunt and check that out. So with deer, elk, and pronghorn, we're dealing with a true preference point system right now until 2028 when that changes. He or she with the most points is going to get the tag. So if there's only 10 non-resident tags and there's, let's say, 6 people at 12 points, and they're the highest, that takes care of 6 of the 10 tags. Then they go down to the 11-point holders. And let's say there's 20 people at 11 points, but there's only 4 tags. Well, they're going to do a random draw for which of the 4 tags get split among those 20 people with 11 points. And then everyone with 10 and less, you're out of luck. Good luck next year. So, one of the things that we see in Colorado is there is point creep in their highest demand units. Not as bad as what you see in, say, Arizona, Nevada, Utah, but you still have it. And I've been tracking it for many, many years, and a lot of Colorado applicants, non-resident applicants, just apply for a point. In other words, they're a point buyer. So last year, 40,440 non-residents, and I'm just talking first choice tags here, applied for 21,112 first choice tags. Bull tags, cow tags, everything in between. So we had almost 74,000, 73,936 non-residents just bought a point. So if you add the actual applicants of 40-some thousand, you add the point buyers of another, let's say 74,000, you end up with 114,000 non-residents who are in the Colorado system. And every year they give away somewhere close to 21,000 tags. So that means they got 5.4 years worth of non-residents in their system. What I mean is, if no one else jumped in for 114,000 applicants to work their way through that system at 21,000 tags a year, it'd take a little over 5 years to get them all through the system. So actually last year, the applicants in Colorado, the applicant numbers went down, the point buyers went up, the total between residents and non-residents, or applicants and point buyers went up slightly, about 0.75%. But there's always a little shift in the mix of how many actually buy points and how many actually apply for a tag. And a lot of times that's based on season dates. There's a thing called the Colorado Hunt Planner where they give you what the season dates will be for this year and at least the next year. And they go through a 5-year date/season setting process where they set the dates for the next 5 years. So a lot of people look at that and say, well, if I'm going to hunt mule deer, I want to hunt in November in the rut. So I'm going to sit out for a couple of years until that season drops a little later. And so you see some of these variations. But just know that in Colorado, what is that? Maybe 35% of the people actually apply for a tag and the other 65% just buy a point. It'll be really interesting to see how that changes this year and next year, with the big changes coming in 2028. Now, you can do a party application in Colorado, and we get so many questions on this. Someone will say, I had 15 points and my hunting partner had 5, so between us, we averaged 10, and I looked at the draw results. We had 10 and we didn't draw, but someone with 7 and 8 drew. Yep, because Colorado does not average your points. So a lot of people are thinking Colorado's like every other state. No. What happened there, you had 15, your hunting partner had 5. You didn't get average down to 10. You both went into the draw with 5. They used the lowest point holders total for the party. So if you got this many points and someone has fewer points, don't party up with them, because you're going in with whatever their lower point level is. So Colorado State trust lands, these little blue lands that you see on your map, you cannot hunt, fish, camp, hike, shoot anything on those lands without permission from the leaseholder, which is usually a private party, maybe a rancher, an outfitter, or somebody else. Now, a lot of people think, oh, it's like Montana, Wyoming, and Idaho, I can hunt these. No, you can't. Fortunately, there's about 1 million of those acres that Colorado Parks and Wildlife does lease from the leaseholders. So you got to really look on your map, and Colorado Parks and Wildlife has an interactive map that shows which ones they actually lease. But don't just plan on going out there and saying, oh, that's state land, I'm going to be hunting that. Not in Colorado. So over-the-counter options, Colorado hosts more non-resident hunting for deer and elk than any other western state by a long ways. And the reason that is because of the over-the-counter option. Like I said at the beginning, this year they're getting rid of that opportunity in those, whatever, 90 units. They're getting rid of the archery opportunity in there. So you're going to have to apply and burn points for what previously as a non-resident you got as an over-the-counter elk tag, archery elk tag. They're keeping it intact for the second and third rifle seasons, but I don't know how much longer that's going to continue. Everything for deer and everything for pronghorn is on a limited draw in pretty much every unit. Every applicant has to be at least 12 by the last day of the season that they apply for. If you haven't taken Hunter's Ed, you probably are going to have to in Colorado, because January 1st, 1949 is the cutoff. And as we're getting older and older, there's fewer and fewer hunters that are exempted because of being born before January 1st, 1949. So make sure you get that taken care of if you haven't already. Most of you probably have. Are there any weapons restrictions imposed by Colorado? Yes, there's quite a few, and I would say if you are a muzzleloader hunter, you're probably looking at Colorado as, boy, this is a great place. I get to hunt in September with my muzzleloader. Just make sure you understand the equipment restrictions, because Colorado has a lot of restrictions on what qualifies as a muzzleloader. Can I return a tag if I get lucky and say you draw too many tags in one season? Yeah, you can return a tag. It's pretty complicated based on what time of the summer and how far in advance of your season you return it. These return tags / reissue tags that haven't been claimed by anybody go on sale usually in early August. It's a first come, first serve thing. So with this being a preference point system, is there any strategy to improve your chances to go on a hunt? Well, for elk, have reasonable expectations is what I say. Don't shoot for the moon. Plan that every 3 to 5 years, you could go to Colorado. There's a lot of units that have decent elk hunting that you can draw with 3 to 5 points. Like I said, you know, there's more point buyers in Colorado than there are actual applicants. So those of us who are not in the point buying mode and we're just, you know, trying to get a tag, we have a little bit of an advantage there, just from the standpoint of our approach. Whether or not that'll stay the same, I don't really know. For deer, you know, I was referring to elk. For deer, the season dates really drive when people, the point buyers, jump off the sideline. If the season dates jump back further into November, just know a bunch of those mid and higher point holders are going to jump in the game, and those are the years you see huge spikes in point creep for deer. Pronghorn, as we expected, when it used to be no split between resident and non-resident for pronghorn. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago. They said non-residents 25%, residents 75%. all of a sudden the point creep for non-residents went way up because now we're competing for far fewer tags. So Colorado it has the largest herd of elk in this country. It has the best mule deer hunting of any western state. It hosts more non-resident elk hunters than any other state. And it has the oldest of all of the point systems, starting I think in 1988, if I remember. So if you want way more than this, go out to Go Hunt, and they'll have this. They'll have it for the moose, goat, and sheep stuff that I said we're not going to talk about. Again, promo code Randy is going to get you $50 of credit in their gear shop. Going to get you the elk hunting e-guide, the new one that's 100 pages. I'm going to get you an annual subscription to Fresh Tracks Plus. And whatever you do, put Colorado on your list as a possibility. It's one of the easier and cheaper places to buy points. The only place that's cheaper for buying points is Wyoming. So those points are going to be helpful. And once they make this change in 2028, those who have lower points are actually going to benefit, because now half the tags, you're going to be in the running for those, whereas before you weren't. So anyhow, don't miss the April 1st deadline, because if you miss that, Colorado doesn't give you any mulligans. You're out of here if you miss it. So good luck. I hope this is your year that you get to go hunting somewhere in Colorado.